here we go. I'm going to try to swap out the Unifi NVR server with a Unifi UNVR4, which is brand spanking new. So, no comments on my dirty basement or my horrible looking working conditions because it's very sloppy, and God only knows if I'll find every tool I need, which I'll probably just use my Leatherman. But anyway, I already moved the Cloud Key Gen 2 single, not the plus. So here's the rack it's going in. So this is my Unifi ecosystem that I have. I'll go through that real quick. 24-port non-PoE switch, 24-port PoE switch. These are security cameras in the purple. This is the USXG 16, I think. I don't know. Anyway, it's the XG switch. It's the 10 gig switch. And I have all these ports aggregation, port aggregation. So each of these switches is getting 2 gigs per second down to the 10 gig switch. I do have some 10 gig network devices. Obviously, this is the big honcho. They don't make this one anymore. The USG XG, which is the router. This is now, I think you have to buy an edge switch to get this 10 gig capability with all the SFP ports in it. Anyway, so I moved it. This was here. I moved it down. Cloud Key clearly doesn't really have any weight to it at all. It's just the Cloud Key that's sitting right back here, and the rest of this is just kind of a dead front. Yes, I spent the extra $100 to rack mount my Cloud Key. Don't make fun of me. So anyway, here we go. We're going to slide this in here. Oh, this is what we're replacing. We're replacing, yes, I have an NRA sticker on it. We're replacing this. This is an NVR that was built by Crosstalk Solutions. So anybody looking up Unifi stuff, this may be under. Probably has seen Chris's videos from Crosstalk Solutions. Anyway, he built this. He doesn't build these anymore, I don't think, since Unifi Protect came out. So this is a couple years old, and the architecture in here, the systems in here are probably a year older than that. So, you know, this is a 4 or 5 year old server. This thing did actually crash on me. The NVMe drive crapped out, so I tore it apart. When Chris built it, Crosstalk Solutions built it. It was Linux. I'm not a big fan of Linux. Not to mention, I put a 10 gig card in this, and I needed it. I have 24 cameras at this point, and I was actually noticing that that I was getting some bandwidth issues with the 1 gig port. So I put a 10 gig switch in here. When it crashed out on me, I stripped it out and built it out to Windows. I put a Windows license on it because I'm not a big Linux. I like Linux when it works and I don't have to mess with it, but when I have to start punching code and looking it up on the internet and all that stuff, I don't want to deal with it. So I made it into a Windows machine, and I put Unifi video server on it. The thing runs like a champ. I know a lot of people don't like, or everything I've seen on the internet says don't use a Windows server for Unifi. It is, and I've had it running like this for quite a few months now. The fact that it crapped out and Unifi actually came out with a significant device to run Unifi Protect, because like I said, I had 24 cameras. I decided to try to replace this. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see how easy or painless this is. So over here on the floor is the box for the Unifi UNVR4. And I'm probably going to pull the drives out of this, see if I can format them, because there's two 6 terabyte Western Digital purples in here, which I'm going to try to reuse because they're expensive, and I don't really feel like popping more money into that. And then this thing I'm going to try to salvage, probably with throw another NVMe in here or something and make this into maybe like a monitoring station. So anyway, I'm going to shut this down, see if I can strip the drives out, plug that in, and I will probably come back once that's in, the drives are in it, and formatted. So the lighting for this is going to be horrible. I don't think I can make it much better. So anyway, let's just see something here. Pull this out. All right. Let's see. Hold that. Ooh. Oh. Of course, I have no monitor. This is just shot on a GoPro. I have no idea what we're seeing right now. Hopefully it's a wide enough angle. Oh boy, that's heavy. Holy smokes. That's heavy without having drives in it. Whew. All right. It's so weird when you have it in the package and you're holding it with two hands. It doesn't seem that heavy. When you have it out like this, oh boy, notice how much heavier it is. Glad I moved that rack down. All right. So this is supposed to have, I thought this had an SFP port on it. Huh. Okay. Maybe it doesn't. That's okay. Ooh. Drop it. I think that's an SFP port. Ah, it is an SFP port. Good, because I have a 10 gig SFP, or SFP plus, so fiber, so that's what I want to run it to. Alright, I guess I'll rig all this stuff up and then pull the drives out of the old unit. Alright, so we're in a little snafu here. This is a Novi Point rack, right? It's got a glass door on it. It's right there. Anyway, this is too tight back here, so I can't actually get it all the way in because you can't probably see back there, but my power cord is hitting the back and my fiber and SFP port right there is hitting the back. I'm not sure you can see it there or not, but anyway, that's they're both hitting. So I have an issue, and I think looking down here, I can move this rack forward to make the clearance easier. That might cause me a problem with the door because these are already pushed up against the door. So I may not be able to put the glass front back on, which is not terrible. I do like the glass front on because we're in the basement and I didn't want things. Actually, I had a problem with somebody splashed some water. I don't know where from, but some water got splashed on the front. I blew a power supply on one of these, and I had to replace it. So I kind of like to have the glass front. I had the sides off, obviously, because I'm more concerned with cooling than I am with protecting it for the sides. But I think I'm going to have to move that forward and make clearance for myself in the back, which is going to totally suck. And I'm going to try to do it without taking everything out. I think if I undo this one and I swing it forward, leave it hooked on top, swing it forward, and then undo the top one, and then swing it forward. Shoot, I don't know how long these cables are though. Do I have enough room to bring everything out? These patch panel cables might be too short. Ugh. Well, I guess I could. Maybe I should just. I don't know. I don't know. Upon further investigation, I'm finding that I may have to leave this sticking out like that, because the shelf rail down on here I have only supports this distance, and while I can move the other bar, I will lose my ability to have the shelf support, I think. Yeah, I will. And this is heavy. This is heavy. That's heavy. And actually that 24 port switch is a little bit heavy too, so I think I might have to just leave this sticking out like that. That is not going to make me happy, but I can get it fired up anyway, make sure it's working, and then figure something out after that. So if you have a rack with a hard back on it that is a specific depth, and maybe I'll measure this, put it in the comments, you will not be able to get this in a rack with an SFP. I could probably get a 90 degree, whatever these are called, Molex connector. Probably get a 90 degree connector to fix the power problem part, but I'm not sure about the way the fiber is, because these will flex obviously, but they only flex so much, and it's still not enough room to get it in back there. So if you're going to plan on fiber, probably going to want to make sure that it'll fit in the rack if you're putting it in a rack. Of course, it comes with the little rubber feet too, so I could always stick it down here where this one was for now. I'll leave it in the rack. It's fine up here. Maybe I'll get longer screws and just leave it sticking out like that. Anywho, more to come. Alright. My dog's going nuts. Get! What are you doing, goofball? Okay, so here's where we're at. It's fired up. White light drives. It's updating the device, so that's good. I did pull the drives out of here, which are the Western Digital. They're 8 terabyte Western Digital purples. So this is the old system here, which I'll probably repurpose to something. I don't know what. But anyway, she's going. Ooh, it's flashing. Flashing blue. Look at that. So anyway, doing the drives is pretty straightforward. And just pop these trays out, you know. They just bolt into the tray. I only got 2 drives. I only have 2 drives, so I don't know. Maybe at some point I put 2 more in there if I feel like spending another $400 or something on drives. But actually, I have enterprise drives in this server. I might get rid of this server. Anyway, okay, it's updating, and I guess I will be back in a minute. Hopefully a minute. Oh, you know, the other thing I didn't do is I didn't unmanage all my cameras first. And as I was firing this thing up, I went, maybe I should unmanage my cameras first, because last time I switched servers, that was an issue for me. I had to, because I couldn't remember the password for the cameras, because the system did its own password. You know, it was one of those like XYZ 50024315 whatever. So I didn't have the password. So I had to unmanage all the cameras and reset all the passwords. So I'm a little nervous about how that's going to work. Probably should unmanage your cameras first. That way they're all unmanaged and clean, and then this will find them easier. But I think I'm going to be okay, because I've done it before and I was able to unmanage them from the software and not have to go to every freaking camera and reset them. So I'm hoping this is the same way. Update to follow. There are going to be so many crazy cuts on this video. Yeah, I screwed myself on this thing here, this switching to the UNVR. Definitely want to unmanage your cameras before you take down your old server, because yeah, I had to go to every single camera, pull it off the wall, ceiling, outside of the house, climb up the ladder, pull it down, reset button, click the reset button, and redo all of them. So And you know, I thought that, and I was in a rush to get this thing up and running because I was excited to have it. And yeah, so unmanage your cameras first, then swap over to the new system. I think that's how I should have done it. So anyway, yeah, so that's what I'm doing now today. I have 22 cameras that I have to go find again because I don't even have a reference point at this point. There's one of them. All right, so I gotta take that one down, reset it, and then do all the rest of them. So I will be doing that now. All right, so those two are done. That one's done, and I got two more left to do. So I'm gonna reset those two cameras, and hopefully that's it, and everything's up and running and working. All the other cameras are working that were reset, so I expect that once I reset these cameras that are on the garden, they will also be working fine. These two are the pain in the butts though, because they're outside rated Cat 6 cable, and they're a real pain to get apart because when you clamp them up there, they're so tight on the, well, I'll climb up there and show you. But anyway, here's the garden. So those are the cameras. Those are the last two I got to reset. I'm gonna climb up there and show you why they're such a pain in the butt. Again, highly recommend unmanage all your cameras, get them all reset to factory before you take your system down. So here's the problem. This is some really thick cable, and that hole doesn't allow that cable really to slide through very well. So what I had to do to get them up here was put all this together, leave this loose. When I screwed this fitting on, I had to leave it enough where I could get the screwdriver in there to retighten this. And actually, it's not even really that tight right now. As you can see, it moves, and that's because of that area right there. I needed more room there. So I'm gonna try to open these up. This one on this side was a real problem because the connector kept giving me grief because it was too tight, and every time I tried to do it, it screwed up. So I'm gonna try to take this part off, pop this down, and get in there to reset them. Hopefully I don't have to take this whole thing back apart, put it back together again. I'm hoping I can reach in there with a little paper clip. Ooh, do I have a paper clip? Yeah, paper clip, and do it. So I'm gonna try to stabilize this on the ladder. We're gonna see what happens here. This is probably going to the ground here in a minute. I don't know, maybe I can hit it. Oh, I'm gonna drop this so bad. Oh, this is definitely gonna fall. Oh, there's no question. All right, first one, the easy one. Shit. The easy one, my ass. God, that's tight. Oh, there we go. All right. Let's see if I can get to the reset button. Come on, just a little bit more. Can I see it? I can see it. I can see it. Okay. Hopefully I can get in there to it. Hopefully this is in frame. So if people have the same problem, they'll be able to do the same thing. Oh, I think I got it. No, I don't have it. I don't have it. I don't have it. Oh, you're falling, aren't you? Get this on film for posterity as well, because this is a friggin' nightmare. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. Huh. Okay. And that should do it. All right, I'm gonna do this one off camera because there's gonna be a lot of swearing. All right, this is day 3, I think. A couple long nights. Some issues yesterday. And yeah, well, it's day 2, but it's like the 3rd evolution of this process of converting the Unifi video to Unifi Protect NVR4. So here is the NVR4 finally in. Well, it was in the rack already, but as I think I mentioned before, show up our flashlight. Horrible at this. As I mentioned before, it didn't fit. It was too deep, and it wasn't so deep that I couldn't get it all the way in, but with the SFP and fiber and the power on this side, it just wouldn't go in any deeper. So I ran over to the hardware store. I got some 2-inch screws and some 1x1 aluminum square stock. I cut that down, and then I screwed this in, so this is in there pretty tight. That way, you know, I can manipulate the racks if I have to, or the things if I have to. Issue with this is obviously, you know, if you have to pull these apart, your fingers are kind of like in here, especially up here. You got to pull these down, you know. So this ledge, you know, makes it a little difficult to get into these things, but all in all, that's the way it's going to live. Like I said, I think already in this video, I was going to move this rack. I could move it a couple of inches forward. This is probably super dark. Nobody can see it as I say that before I even look at the video. You know, I could pull that forward, but then I wouldn't be able to put the door on. And I'm in my basement. Again, I think I said in the video before, I've had an issue where some water got splashed up on these things. So I would like to keep the front cover on. I know the side covers I don't put on because I find that it gets too hot in there. Even with those fans blowing at the top. It gets over 80, and I like to keep it around. I don't like to go any higher than 80 on some of this gear. That's just me. I don't know if that's BS or whatever, but that's where I am with it. Got too hot, left the panels off. Wanted to be able to put the glass door back on. Glass door's right here. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. I probably can't. Oh, I'm holding this camera. I'm gonna break it. Oh. Okay. Okay, this is horrible. This is horrible. Alright. Glass door's on. I mean, I leave the key in it. I don't lock it. I have access points all around the house, outside the house, so if somebody really wanted to get to a port, ooh, I shouldn't say that. I don't have, there's the only way to get to ports in my house is to get into my basement. So anyway, I don't lock this. So I like having the glass on it. I don't know, just feel good about it. So I did not move it forward because otherwise I wouldn't be able to shut it with the all the cables and everything. So getting the color coding, the purple is all the video camera, well, not all the video cameras because I have a switch upstairs, but the purple is video, the green is network, I might have said this already, black is devices, in devices like TVs, computers, desktops, servers up there, some Synology servers. Cloud key I moved down below, not too worried about the IP address, that's not accessible outside the network. And I'm not going to fire this up because this will show my public-facing IP, so we'll keep that off. Yeah, so all in all, pretty good. One issue I had with the... I'm not a... As of right now, I'm not a fan of Unifi Protect. I like Unifi Video better. This was the Unifi Video server, like I said, that I had. This was built by Crosstalk Solutions. I don't remember what I paid for it. A lot. But I rebuilt it once already. So I just figured that this you know, the writing on the wall is that video, Unifi Video is going away at some point, I would imagine. Unifi Protect's the latest and greatest, so I kind of wanted to future-proof. the system I have 23 Unifi cameras running on this right now. I don't really feel like changing all those cameras to some other IP camera or trying to fudge some other IP system to work with the Unifi cameras, which probably is not a big deal, but I don't want to deal with it. I know just enough about networking and this kind of stuff. This all looks very impressive, but to Ubiquity's credit, it's pretty simple to put this all together. I know enough to go. I know enough to know what I don't know and where to go to look for it and figure it out. So that's where I am with that. So yeah, so I went with the when this product came out, I figured, you know, now's the time to pull the Band-Aid off and go to Unifi Protect. As I mentioned, not as big a fan. There are some weird things, and maybe it's just me not figuring out how to use it yet. I had to create another Ubiquity account for my for a computer I have upstairs, which, you know, let's walk up there. For a computer that I have upstairs that I monitor the cameras on, some of the cameras on. I should probably not run with this camera in my hand. So anyway, this is the screen in the kitchen. So in order to have this going, I had to create a Ubiquity account, where in Unifi Video, I just created a user with a username and password, and it was easy enough to do. I couldn't figure out how to do that in Unifi Protect, so whatever. So that I didn't like. Also, you know, that camera, that monitor used to stay on 24/7, never had an issue. So far, 2 nights in a row, it's shut off. I don't know if that's my Ubiquity, the Ubiquity account I created for that computer, turning off or logging out. I have to figure that out. I guess not the end of the world if I have to log it in every morning, but yeah, that was a little annoying. And I have that monitor there because, well, originally you can't see the driveway. There was no windows on that side of my house for the driveway, so we wanted to be able to just see if somebody was at the driveway or the back door real quick. That obviously expanded. Hey, can we see this camera? Can we see that camera? Yeah. Now we use that. Now we let the dog out. The whole yard's fenced in. We let the dog out. We look at the camera, see where the dog is, watch him, make sure when he comes to the door, we get him. So, boy, I'm rambling. Yeah, so I don't like it. I don't like it so far. I like Unifi Video much better. As I mentioned already, the unmanage your cameras before you switch, because as I mentioned, I rebuilt this one once, and I changed it over, and it was not bad because I had the IP address, I had the username and password. You know, it wasn't the default password. I changed the password on all the cameras, so I was able to go to the firmware UI and unmanage the cameras through the firmware UI because I had the username and password for each camera. So I did it at the laptop. This time when I did it and Unifi Protect came up, I got this. I was excited to get a tour of the drives out of this. They were Western Digital Purples, 8 terabytes. You know, it's $400 worth of drives. I'm like, screw that. I'm going to just reuse them. Threw it in there. By the way, fired right up. They were Windows. They were Linux to Windows. Windows didn't like that. They wound up getting partitioned. Once I took them out of Windows, I put them back into Linux. This thing fired them right up. 8 terabytes, full blown. Showed RAID 1 array, full health, both drives. Awesome. So where was I going with this? Oh, the cameras. Unmanage your cameras first. I couldn't do the same thing because when I reinstalled the Windows Unifi Video software on the server, it put in like this, you know, 16-digit alphanumeric code, and I grabbed it. I had it. I put it in a note file, but I had it on the same machine. So I had every intention to move it to one of these file servers that I have. I never did. So when I fired up Unifi Protect, and I was like, oh, I'll just look at the unmanaged cameras and go in, and number one, Unifi Protect didn't even show unmanaged cameras like Unifi Video does. Unifi Video has one screen that says, you know, manage cameras, and then there's a tab that says unmanaged cameras, and if you click on there, it says unmanaged cameras. When I did it last time, it just said all these are managed by some other device, and I was able to, I think I did it right in Unifi Video. I think I went in right in and said unmanaged, and asked me for the password, and I put the password in. It unmanaged it and then remanaged it by the new install. The Unifi Protect, nothing. It was just it was blank, you know. And I'm search camera, no. I tried my micro first, my wireless G3 micro. It found it, but it said this device is no, it didn't even find it. It said it couldn't find any devices, and they're probably managed by some other device. So then I had to go around to every single camera, all 23 of them, inside the house, outside the house, up on ladders, pull them off the house, pull them out of trees, pull them off of posts, hit the reset button. Hit the reset button, and now, again, to Unifi's credit, hit the reset button. Thank God there was a reset button on them, so you can default them. By the time I came inside, I didn't have to go, you know, add camera. It was already in add devices tab. So by the time I came inside, it was probably a full 60 seconds, like a full minute for it to restart, and then for Unifi Protect to find it, and then for me to be able to add it back into the system. So I had to do that to every single camera, and then obviously I had to create the account for the upstairs computer. That was kind of a pain in the ass. I had to make all my I keep moving this hand. This is probably a horrible video. I had to keep moving my. I had to redo all my views. I wound up, part of the time I spent was I threw a 1 terabyte drive in this machine, and got it back up and running as just a Windows machine, because when it shit the bed, I threw a Windows license in it, and so I just rebuilt that as just a machine, which is nice because it's got a 10 gig card in it. So I might move this into the office, because I also had a computer in there that I used for monitoring video in the office when I'm sitting in there. So and it's nice to have the 10 gig networking on it, which is this port right here, 13. It's off right now. You see that's 10 gig. That's this port 14, 10 gig SFP. So SFP plus, I guess, is what it is. So that's my experience. Any questions, comments, feel free. I'll try to get back to people. I don't really have any